Okay, so to finish off the course, we're going to look at a case study of how generative AI can be used basically to turn unstructured data into some kind of more efficient process than the manual process that was currently taking place. So this is a case study with the Print and Image Group, TPI Group, and this is from Microsoft's early adopters. The document that's up on the course website, I put that in as a source to NotebookLM, and I got NotebookLM to create this slide deck for me. So I thought that I would show you the case study by also using generative AI as well. So it just had that document as you'd be able to get online, and you can see it's just a text document of the case study, and I basically just put that up as a source into NotebookLM and clicked generate slide deck, and this is the output. So we'll go through this case study now with the NotebookLM slide deck. Okay, so first of all, we'll look at the challenge that the company had. So the business is a print manufacturing business. They do packaging, branding, and branded communications, and they're based in Dublin, in Ireland. So the problem that they had was they had severe admin delays before production kickoff even started. So the challenge that they had was they had client briefs that arrived as fragmented data. They could be 20 email deep email threads. There could be attached PDFs on the emails, spreadsheets, and maybe even messy design notes. So normally what would happen is the project manager would be spent hours manually reading and extracting all of the the specifications that are needed from all of these emails and the PDFs and the spreadsheets and the messy notes. So how this would impact the business, it would delay production schedules, and valuable staff would be tied up in this repetitive manual data entry. It was a very time consuming repetitive process, and it could take hours and hours for a project manager when they're not actually managing the project. So the solution that they implemented, they started with Microsoft 365 Copilot, and they were one of the early adopters. So this is from Microsoft's early adopter study. So first of all, they went for instant extraction and summarization. So the AI deployed to instantly read, synthesize, and extract manufacturing specs from dense email threads and complex PDFs. So the structured data then was integrated. The technical details are automatically formatted to feed directly into internal quoting and production management software. And then the automated generation of first draft production briefs, client responses, and status reports. So basically what they'd done was they took all of this unstructured data, just the messy emails and PDFs and notes and everything else, and they put it into a generative AI tool, and basically got it to structure it into tables and put it into a structured format that then can be fed into the business's management software. So what were the results then from doing this? So they eliminated data entry. There was massive reduction in hours spent analyzing briefs and retyping data. The manual administration basically became lighter, and what they done was basically elevated the human roles. So project managers were freed from this tedious, these massive tasks to focus on quality control, client relationships, and business development. So this automated integration of client data directly into production workflows cut lead times. So it not only freed up the humans, it also increased the productivity. So the workflow, or the way that they done this, was first of all they identified the bottleneck. So find where text is manually read and retyped. So examples were requests for quotes. They were all in PDFs, and they were transformed to just be clean quotes, formatted with all the correct information. Then supplier notes were transferred into purchase orders, and handwritten shift reports were put into tracking software. So this, they identified basically their bottlenecks. Then the next thing was getting the right tool and data privacy. So a golden rule here is to never use free public AI for confidential client data. Enterprise tools, the company here used Microsoft Copilot, but There's also the option, for ChatGPT Enterprise or Google's Gemini for Google Workspace. So a good thing to do is to strictly audit and organize the cloud file permissions before deployment. To make sure that the generative AI tool has permission just to the correct files. The next thing then was to build a prompt template. So the generative AI requires strict standardized instructions to reliably extract the data. So you can see there was like a blueprint prompt here. You're an expert in manufacturing production, or you're an expert manufacturing production assistant. So that's the role in the context. Review the attached client email and PDF, extract info and format as a table, required outputs, and then if information is needed, list under missing info needed. So you can see here we're assigning a role, we're defining the task and giving it the format that we want back out, and then we're giving it constraints. And then sometimes we want to try and prevent hallucinations by putting in some extra information to constrict it even more. The next thing that they done was they went for the integration. So they wanted to eliminate copy and paste entirely between the inbox and the ERP or the CRM, the management system. So what they done was they used Microsoft's Power Automate, and using Power Automate it was a no code or a low code approach. So basically this was the workflow that they went through. So first of all, the trigger was that the email with the request for a quote attachment arrives to the designated inbox, whatever that address may be. And then once that happened, Microsoft Power Automate basically catches that email and does a few steps to basically send it to Copilot. So the generative AI, it reads the attachment using the standardized prompt template, and then finally it will output the data. So the extracted data then is automatically put into the ERP or the CRM or wherever it needs to be stored. So this is basically the integration workflow. So an email comes in, that triggers off this process where we pass the email into the chatbot or generative AI tool with the standardized prompt, and then we get the information extracted in the format that we need, and we can store it accordingly. The next part then, of course, is the most important, and that's the human in the loop. So generative AI can predict patterns, but it can hallucinate and misread data. So we need to be careful of that. So we must never send over final quotes or order materials autonomously. This was one of the things that the company found out. So the AI will draft the document, okay, but then the output, you need to be the person in the middle, before it goes any further. So a good rule is to treat these tools as a junior administration assistant. So the automation workflow pauses at the draft stage, and the project manager will review the AI structured data against the original brief, and then basically click approve. So that reduces the amount of time that the project manager will need to spend on this, but they do need to be that human in the loop and make sure that the artificial intelligence isn't allowed to do things autonomously without some kind of human review checkpoint. So Enterprise Ireland have this AI for Business, and there's more information on the site where the course is. So first of all, they have stage 1 called Discovery, and the outputs from this is you basically do a data audit and you map skills and identify the highest impact AI use cases. And the output from this is a customized 12 to 18 month AI roadmap. So they help with funding that. The next stage is working with AI Center to build a working open source AI prototype. So with the discovery stage, you're given a consultant. The next stage, it's an AI Center, and the output is a testable solution ready for internal integration. And then finally, it's to basically scale up across the organization, and you want to try and fully embed AI into your daily operations. There are grants available. These are changing all the time, so it's good to keep an eye on some of the different funding pathways that are available for SMEs when it comes to AI adoption. So again, I'll put a lot of this information up where the course is being hosted, so you can get a lot of the information there. So 5 points to remember. AI solves a bottleneck, so it's the fastest, highest return investment for SMEs is turning unstructured data into structured. Success requires a strict 5-step implementation workflow, not just buying software licenses. Standardized, highly specific prompts prevent errors and hallucinations. AI acts as junior assistant, but human experts always should review and approve the outputs. And then there's loads of different funding pathways that are available, so basically to give you access to some expertise and to try and de-risk your adoption. So there's loads of additional resources from Enterprise Ireland, CEDAR and the EDIH, and there's loads of ways that you can start to build skills. So the next step really is to audit the data, identify exactly one manual data entry bottleneck in your business, check grant eligibility. You can visit Enterprise Ireland, and again we'll put the information up online for that. And then draft a prompt, try writing a 5-step text instruction for your most common client brief. Right, okay, it's not bad, not a bad presentation for Notebook LM. Probably, as you can see there, facilitated contact info, LinkedIn handle, things like that, where you would need to obviously review this before putting it up, but I put up just the raw slide deck because I wanted to show you how it handles, or how some of these tools can handle things. And like I said, that slide deck was created in like 5 minutes. I clicked like 2 buttons, and then I just waited for 5 minutes and it was ready. So that's the power of these tools. And the main thing is to remember, always check the answers for these tools, because they can be wrong, and it wouldn't be ethical to not have a human in the loop. So even if you're trying to automate things, you're going to only be able to automate them so far, but you will be able to hopefully reduce your workload with using these tools. Okay, thanks for listening.